Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ramadan Mubarak. Alhamdulillah for this blessed month. May Allah make this month a sabbath to the acceptance of our secret and open prayers. Amen. And cheers to 516 of you. You all are noticed and well acknowledged. I mean, just a few weeks ago, we were chim new number. Thanks for the likes, the comments, and the shares. Don't get tired of supporting your sister. Getting a job at times can require a Herculean effort. It can also be tougher in a country struggling with economic instability. We have generally accepted the fact that people may struggle to get a job because the job sector is very competitive with limited chances for people with small or low qualification. We know, yes, that little to no experience can make it more challenging. But one of the excuses we hate to accept is to get rejected on hijab discrimination basis, whether directly or indirectly. This and other forms of discrimination is the ugliest rejection reasons. For some of our sisters, they got lucky, like they got their jobs despite wearing hijab on a platter of gold, while some Muslim women in hijab and niqab are not finding it rosy at all. But before we start pointing fingers at employers, let us take a chill pill and look inwardly. Do we also meet certain acceptable requirements? What have we invested in ourselves? Or what have we done from our end to be found worthy of that particular job or whatever job it is? The only chance you have to prove yourself after submitting an application is during interview. That is the opportunity you have to tell or show potential employers that your hijab is not covering your brain. I see the interview questioning and answering process as being almost the same with a business owner, trying to sell her goods to a potential customer. So this means she needs to convince someone, right? Well, in this case, it's the interviewer that needs to be convinced. I just want to share some interview tips that will further increase our chances of getting a job as a Muslim woman wearing hijab. So, what I know of, right? Feel free to drop your own suggestions in the comment section below. Even if you are already employed, you might be interviewed in the future, so be your sister's keeper. I want you to know something for sure, that being invited for an interview means that your application must have made a good impression. At least in most cases, the most important step to landing a job is to be prepared for your interview. I'm going to be suggesting what you should do before interview, during interview, and after interview. May Allah make this beneficial for you and me. The first thing I would say, which to me is the most important, is to do your istihara. Istihara is a prayer that Allah, who is the knower of the unseen, has blessed his clueless slaves with. Because I don't know the unseen. So obviously, I do not know if the job will be good for me in terms of my well-being, my religion, my overall dunya, and my akhirah. Doing istiara is telling Allah to make the best choice for you. Please note that you are doing it yourself, not one Afa Babalawo doing it for you. Let us be guided. And if you did not eventually get the job, then be confident that it is an answer to your prayers because your Lord knows what is best for you. So don't lose hope. But do your best and then trust Allah. The next thing to do after prayers and then istiara is to make research about the company. Employers generally love it when the prospective staff research about their company. It makes them know that you are really interested in them and you pay good attention to details. Not knowing anything about the company that you're applying to does not look good, especially when questions like this are asked. Why do you apply for this position? What do you know about us? I don't know, but there is this feeling of fulfillment in the interviewers when an interviewee, sweet talk about their company and hype them, it makes them feel like, yeah, we belong. Alelubaje, we are mounted. In a nutshell, the start of an interview is your chance to make a great first impression. And walking in with zero knowledge of their business could be one of the first turn off. It could lead them to even ending the interview early. And that is one of the biggest signs that your interview went badly. For example, you are told that your interview is 1 hour and you are finishing in 25 minutes. Make sure you constantly look at the job adverts to remind yourself of what the employers are looking for. Look carefully at your CV or application form objectively without bias and ask yourself, what will I ask if I am the interviewer? Also try to search the internet for possible questions that can be asked in that sector or field. For example, if you are a doctor or a nurse, you should be expecting medical questions, right? So if you are a children teacher, you should be expecting questions that will revolve around Montessori. So just search, make your findings, ask people, and ask yourself, if you are the interviewer, what will you possibly ask? After jotting out possible questions, then take your time to think about the answers that match. The best thing is to always provide real examples of times when you have done something well, so as to give employers a good understanding of your experience. Let me give you an example if you are not in a hurry. I don't have a tie, I will have acted it well. What is your take on whistle blowing in the workplace? Do you think staff members should report their colleagues if they find them to be providing substandard service to customers, clients, service users, or patrons, whatever? Instead of just saying yes or no, you can just give a smart and logical response with example. You can just say, well, I believe that employees should have the best interest of the company at heart, and that is caring for the success and well-being of the organization, which means that a culture of internal reporting, more commonly known as whistleblowing, is crucial. However, maintaining a healthy relationship with my co-worker is also essential for teamwork and productivity at work. So, talking directly to the person is preferable since that gives them a chance to correct the problem without getting into trouble. For example, I once experienced a colleague who suddenly changed and became very rude to a client and snapped at every little thing. Because she was frustrated with dealing with rude customers, then I suggested more professional ways to deal with such situation, and I also advised her to speak to the manager for her own mental health. Just an example from your past experience or day-to-day life that fits the scenario. My fifth preparation tip is to rehearse your response. Like, no matter how confident you are, nerves can get the better of anyone in an interview. So practice. Say your answers out loud, to a friend or family members, or try a mock interview. It can help you to feel more confident. Make sure you also get familiar with the resume and be ready to explain past job changes in a positive light. On the interview day, the first thing you have to take note of is your hijab. Your overall dressing matters a lot. Let me just hit the nail on the head. Don't try or don't ever take off your hijab for the sake of an interview. I don't even see any reason why you should adjust your dressing, seriously. If you would normally wear jilbab, then wear your jilbab with your full chest. If you are in niqabi, use your niqab. Even if the interview is online or offline, be yourself because you might regret later on if you bend. It is better that they accept or reject you for who you are and have peace of mind than for them to, employ you with the mindset that, okay, she only covers her head, like she uses just the head scarf or cap, and so we can, she's completely dressed so we can manage her. And you know for sure that you would normally wear jilbab or abaya, but you tried to adjust for the sake of the interview. Don't you think your employer will pick up on you next time when they see you on abaya, like, madam, who are you? Are you the one we employed? And it is not their fault because what you presented to them on the day of the interview is quite different from what they're seeing. Well, it is just the way I see it anyway. So feel free to, constructively disagree in the comment section. But I just feel that it is better you present yourself in a way that you want to be known for so that the interviewer can decide if he or she or they are willing or ready to work with you based on merit. Don't forget that even if we decide to go unclad for the sake of an interview, we would not earn beyond what Allah has portioned for us in our lifetime. So this reminder is for myself first before anybody else. May Allah make it easy. Amen. Number two, it is important that you try to get to the interview venue on time. If you will be late for any reason, it is very important for you to inform the interviewers of your possible lateness. Getting to the interview venue on time will help you to feel relaxed, less tensed, and will help you to be able to put yourself together. And when it is time to start, then step into the room with adkar, as in your mind. You can never go wrong with the remembrance of Allah at every situation. I usually like to say this adkar. Asbi Allahu la ilaha illahu alayhi tawakkaltu wa huwa rabbul arshil azim. So a lot might be going on in the mind of your interviewers, especially when they are not so used to seeing women with hijabs, or in a situation where the interviewer has Islamophobia. So a lot might be going in their head like terrorists, oppressed, uncivilized, all of those negative things. But the first thing you want to do to ease the tension from both sides is to wear a simple smile and greet like, hello, good morning, and thanks for having me. This is a way of communicating to them that you are very polite and, easy to get along with. So you should wait for your interviewer to tell you to sit, and then hopefully by then the interviewers should see you in a different light. So the next thing I will tell you to do is to feel relaxed. Try and feel relaxed. You don't need to be tensed. And the way I try to make myself relax and ease myself of every tension is to constantly remind myself that I am talking to fellow human beings, fellow slaves of Allah, whether they are believers or unbelievers. And by resetting my mind to believe that I am in charge. After all, they are questioning me because they do not know, and I am answering them because I know. And that kind of always helped me to feel in charge somehow. So try not to freak out. Just take it easy. You would eventually get along. After the basic questions, you would likely get into technical questions. It is not wrong to not know the answers to all questions. It is possible that you prepared the whole day and get asked, questions that are totally different from what you prepared for. In this case, being genuine, honest, and thoughtful can go a long way. It is far more important than, answering all questions correctly. But rather than saying, I don't know, you could possibly say, oh, interesting. I am not very familiar with that concept. I will definitely make my research. You should also ask them to clarify if you don't understand a particular question. Then it is also acceptable to pause for a while before answering a difficult question so as to give yourself a thinking time. You don't always have to respond quickly. Giving yourself a thinking time does not mean you should completely go blank, like
epo ti tán o, Ọlọ́run má jẹ́ ń tẹ́, Ọlọ́run má jẹ́ ń tẹ́ o.
You can buy yourself some time by simply saying, interesting. That's a great question. I have never heard of that before. Anyway, then you start spilling. By then, ideas should have set in. Another way to buy yourself some time is to tell them to repeat or rephrase. Try as much as possible not to ramble. And don't use fillers. Actually, it is not so acceptable. Like I said before, anyone can go blank in an interview, but your ability to bounce back on time without your interviewer noticing that weakness is what matters. If you are asked to talk about what you will do in a situation that you have never been in, you can use the think out loud method. Some interviewers like to ask tough questions to get an idea of how you would walk through problems. For example, is like, although I have never been in such situation, but if I find myself in such situation, I will definitely, then you make suggestions of what you will do. Thinking out loud when a tough question is asked is a great way to keep the conversation going without giving room for any awkward silence. Plus, it serves as a means to show interviewers how you can think and walk through unexpected obstacles without losing your cool. So, the bottom line of all this Turenchi is that don't give room for awkward silence. End the interview on a friendly note. Thank them once again for having you, be it online or offline interview. So you applied for a job you really want and made it to the interview stage. You put your best face forward in person or online and feel confident that things went well. But yet the company went totally mute. You can take some few steps, especially if the waiting period stretches into days or weeks. You can follow up, but note that there are certain professional courtesies or protocols for following up on job applications. For example, send a brief personalized thank you note that same day or a day after the interview, including your genuine appreciation for the time and effort they invested in the interview. If you don't hear anything from them, don't worry, just go and buy malt and pick milk. Make sure the malt is cold. Mix it together and drink, cool your mind. Some companies generally will take time, to process application. So don't worry. Enjoy your malt and milk. Yes. It does not always mean that you did not get the job. So you can continue your job search just to be on the safer side. If after drinking your malt and milk, nothing, you have heard series of eba and egusi, meaning days and weeks have passed by. Still nothing. Don't worry. Remember the istihara you did. It could be an answer to your prayers. Perhaps Allah wants you to look into something else. Maybe it is time to be your own employer. You don't know what Allah has in stock for you. During this waiting period, do business. Try to learn some skills. Lay your hands on different things. IT is making waves these days. Just invest in your overall development. Strengthen your relationship with Allah, and I would say consider volunteering. Woo! Especially if you are in the UK, I would suggest that you consider volunteering if you are yet to be employed. When I was not employed, I applied to be a volunteer in the University of All Library. And sharp sharp, they collect me. Who cares about your job? You are coming to do free service, like free service. One thing about the UK is that like your time is very valuable. So like every hour counts. If you now volunteer to work for free, your hours are getting paid. And you eventually put this on your CV that you had volunteer for whatever organization, it usually carry weight on the CV. Like it carries a lot of weight because time, like I said, is valuable in the UK. So when I was looking for a job and it was not coming through, I started volunteering with the university library. I studied library and information science as an undergraduate in Nigeria and postgraduate level, that is BSc and Masters. And so I am a student volunteer of the University of All Library. In fact, I am still volunteering despite the fact that I am now working, I am still volunteering. Well, it doesn't take too much of my time. It is just 2 hours per week. So that's not so much for me. And in fact, the working hour is usually very flexible. You can do 1 hour per week. And so the bottom line is that they want us to meet 20 hours per year. So 20 hours per year, that is not too much to me. And by next week, Bi-Iznillah, we are going to be honored with a certificate of volunteering, and they have said they are willing to give us reference whenever we are in need of it. So, and I think it is worth it anyway. So by next week, I am done with the volunteer. If you are yet to be employed, I know of UK, and you are a hijabi, or if you use niqab, you can try volunteering. Don't forget that what the UK employers love the most is UK experience. So once you have the UK experience, it is very possible that your potential employers will look beyond the hijab and they would run after you for what you have to offer. If you used to be a doctor or, for example, a teacher back in your country. You can volunteer in that field if you are here in the UK. Even if you have not been working in your field in your home country, you can just pick up volunteer role in that field when you get here, and the sky will be a starting point because in Allah. So in all, everything works with qadar. May Allah show us mercy and be gentle with us. So not getting a job yet is not an excuse to be idle. Consider volunteering. Thank you very much for watching this video till this point. Don't forget to subscribe and keep showing your support. I do appreciate. Thank you very much and jazakallahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.